from the country's economic problems.
Well, let me tell you, let me get untangled here. That was a very dynamic presentation by XYZWAX. Am I on? Am I here? XYZWAX. Larry, you're the leader, I guess. Is this working, by the way, Ben?
The leader of the pack. Yes.
Leader of the pack. It's like Marlon Brando.
Another song.
Nice. I like that Brown Street. Where's Brown Street, by the way?
That's the one that's over by Wethersfield Avenue.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, it is. By Wethersfield.
Well, that's what's...
Starts as Lenmore, then turns into...
Okay. We're running out of time. This is XYZWAX, and the number to call is?
525-1965, or 1-900-XYZWAX.
525-1965, 1-800-XYZWAX. No, it can't be. 1-800-XYZWAX? Works? 1-900-XYZWAX. $3. Yeah. You call 232-7173. You can hear me breathing heavily into the phone. All right. And let's get these guys' names one more time.
Frank Farella.
Frank Farella.
Larry Deviation.
Larry Deviation.
Bob Laramie.
Bob Laramie.
Rick Marshall.
Rick Marshall. XYZWAX, a genuinely good band. XYZWAX, ladies and gentlemen. Now these guys are gonna take us out, but first I'm gonna go over here. I'm supposed to go over here, I think. Let me go over here for a second. And oh, here's Steuart from the Harford Guides. Thank you, Steuart. Isn't this great? Do you know what this is by any chance? Come here. No, what's your name again? Steuart?
Steuart Evans.
Steuart Evans with the Harford Guides.
Yes, I am.
And who's your boss?
Austin Jordan.
Austin Jordan. Good guys, right?
Great guy.
And you guys are downtown Hartford to help people out when they come to Hartford?
Yes, always willing.
Hartford's a good place to come to?
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of hidden beauty people don't know about.
And you'll be glad to help them. Where do you stand?
Chris, again.
You can find me throughout Hartford. Old State House.
Look to the Old State Hartford for Steuart. Thank you, Steuart. It's great.
Anytime.
Liz, come on out here. It says here, can you believe this? This gastronomical dish is from our friends at Thai Taste. Hartford Current gives it 3 stars. 3 stars.
3 stars out of 4. That's great. I knew that all along.
What else?
Didn't you?
Keep talking. I'm going to eat this stuff.
And says Thai Taste is true to its fiery and exotic origin, and with 80 authentic dishes, you will experience a delightful taste. Thai Taste, 34 Sequoia Street. Phone 560-1791.
And I don't care what Save the Shrimp says. I'm going to eat this. Gone.
Oh, yum.
Thai Taste. So right below us at 34 Sequoia Street, there's great food. Thai
Great food.
food.
We experience their food every single week, and we love it.
Can you hear me crunching?
Yes.
No, we're going to come time to say goodnight to Harford Late Night. Name some of the people that helped us out on the show.
We had Akis
Yara Costa on camera.
on
Very
camera.
inventive person.
Dan, who's our floor director.
Dan Kuhn. Florida.
Dan, right. And Ben,
Ben Gerardo, our director.
our director. And Henry,
Henry Kaminsky.
our audio.
Audio. No, Henry. Wait a second. Henry Wu. It's Ed Kaminsky. Henry Wu is the audio guy. Ed Kaminsky is the talent guy.
Right. And Nancy.
Henry's always interviewing starlets, you know.
Is he really? Oh, yeah.
Nancy Kristoff is our graphics person.
Right. And on camera, Mario Colino.
Mario Clino, very nice guy. And who gives me this beautiful tux?
Oh, yes, Joseph's.
Designer formulas by Joseph's on Farmington Avenue. The beautiful piano is
By
Piano and
Warehouse, yeah.
Organ Warehouse. Tony Hume and Randy Sweeney.
Right.
Your
And
dresses are provided by.
Pelicans of Hartford, located on the corner of Main and Pratt Street.
But this is Liz Manjean's dress.
This is Liz
On
Manjean's,
the corner
yes.
of Main and.
Oh, never mind.
And we got to wrap it up.
What am I going to do?
1 minute. What else should we say? Who else should we thank?
Thank our
Duke Moorhead.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
Duke, for
our
being here
guests.
tonight.
we
John
thank
Ramsey? Norm Gagning. Chuck Obachowski and
Yeah.
John Murray from CJC. You name it.
Yeah.
Jim Halloran and Triage Models. Tirage Models. Triage something else. Okay, this is
We
what
thank
shows.
all our guests. We thank all of our crew members. We thank Channel 26. We thank Hartford Community TV. So please help out. Give money.
What's the name of the show?
This is Hartford Late Night. Thank you for joining.
What channel do we come over?
Channel 26,
In
Community
downtown
TV.
Hartford, Community TV.
Downtown
We're
Hartford.
seen in what towns?
We're seen in Hartford, Simsbury, West Hartford, and Windsor.
Hartford Late Night. And here, take it away. XYZWAX.
Every day he works out.
Things as we tape this particular program on Tuesday, October 15 at about 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon, prior to whether we find out whether Clarence Thomas will be confirmed as the Supreme Court Justice of the United States Supreme Court. But whether he's confirmed or not is beside the point from one perspective, and that is this. In my humble opinion, because the Cold War has ended, we no longer have any external enemies. We're turning against each other. We're turning against ourselves because we do not have that sense of purpose, that sense of destiny as a nation. We are really leaderless. We have no capacity to really lead because there's no philosophical purpose for our existence in terms of the future. And I blame both Democrats and Republicans. It makes no difference that we are in the pickle that we're in. The whole process involving the Clarence Thomas confirmation hearings, regardless of whether he's confirmed or not. And as I said, we're taping this program when we don't know whether he was confirmed or not. But regardless of whether he's confirmed or not, the whole process appears to be something which is contrary to the kind of objective, to the kind of instinctive processes that should be used and must be used if we have a sense of purpose. We are a leaderless nation. Yeah, we got a president, we got the Congress, we got the institutions in place. But what is our purpose now? The Cold War is over. 45 years it's been drummed into us. Get those Bolsheviks. The Russians are coming. And a lot of the stuff that we've been told have been lies, haven't they? The Senate confirmation hearings of the Intelligence Committee on Robert Gates as the new CIA director, that's proof positive. Read those. Read those. The CIA slanted and did not give full, truthful information to the Reagan-Bush administrations because they wanted the Pentagon budget to continue to be increased. So they knew that Russia was in a pickle prior to the Gorbachev changes that are now being undertaken in Russia. They knew that, but they wanted to keep on saying, the Russians are coming, the Russians are coming, because how could Reagan, as President of the United States, increase the defense budget if the Russians were not coming? And even though the CIA knew the objective facts that the Russians were not coming, they slanted the intelligence information and kept on saying the Russians are coming. And so billions and billions of dollars were wasted. Were wasted. Now when you say, this is the linkage, now when you say the people of Connecticut tax revolt, well, look at the connecting links. 1/3 of the budgets, 1/3 of the budgets of the states and local communities have been cut in terms of federal funding. That's one of the basic reasons why Connecticut is in a pickle. The cities of the United States are in a pickle. The states are in a pickle. Because 1/3 of the federal funding upon which states and local communities predicated their budget via federal funding were cut. These funds were cut. Why were they cut? Because President Reagan in the 70s said we got to increase our defense budget. The Russians are coming. I approve. The CIA says so. So the Russians are coming. We got to get ready. Secondly, he cut the taxes. He cut the taxes, and who benefited basically? The rich got richer. That's why we had the S&L fiasco, savings and loan, the junk bond situation in Wall Street. That's why we had bank failures and continue to have them. The S&L fiasco is going to cost us maybe up to $1 trillion. Our children's children will be paying for this situation. That's why we have budget deficits. That's why we have a trade deficit. And furthermore, programs, social programs to aid the cities and the states were also cut. The main purpose was to increase the defense budget. We had to go to war in Iraq. With all this armor that we had, these planes, these submarines, these Navy ships, these troops, we had to have some kind of war. And I told you before that the war in Iraq was unnecessary. But we had to have some, we had to show that we are a world leader. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't show that you're a world leader by the kind of armies and control that you have based on military prowess. You got to read your history. Read your history. Spain overextended itself in terms of trying to control the world several centuries ago. It was because of this imperialistic overstretch that Spain fell as a great power. France, same thing. England, same thing. We're doing the same thing all over again. We are doing the same thing. Do you know what is happening in the meantime? You got Europe, like Germany. You got Japan. You got a lot of the Asian countries not really paying attention to us anymore because they know we're in economic bad straits. You know who they're paying homage to? Japan, Germany, because economically they're strong. When we're weak at home and we depend upon military armor, upon which and through which to exercise power, sooner or later we're going to be powerless because we don't have the foundation, a sense of purpose, a sense of destiny, great leadership in terms of the future. That's what we're really lacking. And I don't care how many guns you got and how many submarines or nuclear bombs we have, then it's not going to do us any good because it doesn't really bring out those things that are essential in terms of the future history of our nation. Now, when President Bush recently cut some of our, or suggested cutting some of our nuclear arsenal, he made a statement that as a result of the ending of the Cold War, Russia has no longer a military threat in terms of perhaps thinking of invading Western Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, as I've said before, Russia never intended to invade Western Europe. As a result of the, again, part of the Pentagon propaganda, the slanting of intelligence information in order to fit what we wanted to do, our perceptions, because our perceptions resulted in assumptions, and assumptions resulted in policies. I am saying to you that since the Second World War, America's perceptions were faulty. Not all of them, but basic perceptions were erroneous. And therefore the assumptions were erroneous, and therefore the policies were wrong. We wanted it that way. That's what we perceived the situation to be, that the Russians were going to attack militarily. That was our perception. The greatest authority on the Soviet Union, George F. Kennan, the greatest American authority, has said several times that Russia was not a direct military threat to Western Europe. Was not. Now you say, well, the Russians were involved in Afghanistan. Fine. They were called in by the Afghan government. You say, well, it was a puppet government. Fine. So was the South Vietnamese government, a puppet government that called us in to Vietnam. On the other side, the Russians elite, or some of the Russian elite, also perceived the United States wrong. And they wanted to buttress the status quo within Russia, just as the power elite in this country wanted to buttress and support its own authority and power. And they said the United States might attack. It took place in the early 20s, including the United States military invasion of Russia at Archangel and Vladivostok. My former history professor, Professor Packard, at Amherst College, was a captain in the American Expeditionary Force.
a mad, mad man.